Hello everybody, how are you all doing today? As you can see, everything is looking different because I changed my room and got a new bookshelf. You can see how many books I have on these shelves. Now imagine the fact that one of these shelves, all of its contents, all of its books were not on a bookshelf. They were like in precariously placed positions in my room. I started to form my books into furniture. I made a little nightstand out of a pile of books. I got really creative, you know, but eventually it just started to look, well, strange. Yeah, that wasn't working. Anyway, I want to get into today's actual video, which is my October wrap-up. I actually only read 3 books in October. It was the month of the dreaded midterms, so I didn't get to read as much as I wanted, but the good news is that it is now November and it's only been a few days into November and I've already read 3 books. So I'm already passing the amount that I read in October. So November is gonna be way better because I have way more time to read. The first book that I read in October was so good. It was so good, so good. Don't Look Back by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Oh my gosh. I love this book so much. This book was everything I could want and ask for in like a perfect fall read. It's this kind of book, you're reading it and it just gives you this very fall-like atmosphere and you just want to curl up and lose yourself in this world. Don't Look Back is about a girl named Sam who mysteriously wakes up in the middle of the forest one day covered in blood and dirt, and she has no recollection of what happened to her. She has completely lost her memory. It turns out that her and her best friend Cassie mysteriously disappeared one day and they had been missing for a few days. Now in this book, her best friend Cassie is still missing, but Sam gets to move back in with her family and carry on with her life, but she doesn't remember anything and she doesn't even know who her family is, who her friends are, and more than anything, she just wants to figure out what actually happened to her and what happened to her best friend. But things get pretty dangerous in this book because as Sam gets closer to finding out what really happened to her, there are some dark entities and people that are trying to hold her back from discovering the truth. You don't know who the guilty person is and you're like constantly guessing, and the main character is awesome and there is a romance which was so swoon-worthy because, guys, it's Jennifer L. Armentrout, and if you aren't familiar with JL Armentrout, basically she is the queen of writing swoon-worthy books. Basically, got action, suspense, mystery, romance, a funny, hilarious main character. It just made me happy. So I 10 out of 10 recommend this book to you guys. Please just go read it. Do yourself a favor because you will fall in love with this book because it is amazing and you will probably finish it in a few hours like I did. And I don't know why I'm talking like this. And the next book that I read was the oh so popular Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. Is it Gillian Flynn? I hope so, because you guys probably noticed that I say pretty much 99.9% of names wrong. So yeah, I apologize in advance for that because you'll see that in my videos a lot. So Gone Girl, whoa, whoa, that book messed me up. I'm so late reading this book. I feel like everybody and their mother has read this book, but anyway, my experience reading Gone Girl was insane. For those of you who don't know what Gone Girl is, how do I explain this without spoiling it? Alright, well this book is full of plot twists, but the basic idea of this book is it follows a husband and a wife, Nick and Amy. It follows Nick in the present, and Amy's perspective is through her diary entries. Amy has mysteriously disappeared. We don't know where she is. So in the present time of this book, we are following Nick's point of view. He's trying to figure out what happened to Amy, how he can find his wife. And meanwhile, people are accusing him of murder and all of this crazy stuff. Then we have Amy's diary entries, which kind of bring us back to the past and how her and Nick's relationship started all the way up to the point where she disappears. It's really, really fascinating because the whole book is really centered around the development of their marriage, basically from being this perfect chick flick kind of romance love story to what eventually develops into a very complicated relationship between these two people. It's really interesting because we have Amy's perspective, which is really set in the past, and her idea of the marriage is this wonderful, amazing relationship. And then we have Nick's perspective, which is in the present, and he has a very different opinion of what their marriage is, which is not as positive. So you're kind of figuring out through the book both what changed the marriage and the relationship between these two characters to make it so negative, and also what the heck happened to Amy, where is she? And that's all I'm gonna say, because things get crazy. Like, when I say crazy, you don't even know. Like, the crazy you're imagining is not even as crazy as it actually is. I still find myself just thinking about this book because it's one of those books that really makes you think. You start reevaluating certain aspects of your life, and you're just so confused but also amazed. It was just so well written, and just the whole book was put together so impressively well. It was really, really good. And the next book that I read was Katara War Death by Martine Levitt. It was just so magical and enchanting and the perfect fantasy read for the fall time. It was perfect. I read this book curled up in my bed with a nice cup of hot tea snuggled in my blanket, and it was pouring rain outside, and I was just so content. It reminded me a lot of some of the fairy tales that I would read when I was younger, like the Gail Carson Levine books that I would read. I'm sure many of you guys also read those books. They were amazing, and they just kind of have that classic fairy tale feeling to them. But I also was getting some of the Brothers Grimm vibes, so it was a combination of a very enchanting classic fairy tale feeling and a more dark fairy tale. It's about a girl named Keturah who wanders into the forest one day where she gets lost and almost dies, and as she is on the brink of death, she meets Death himself, and Death is in the shape of a man. Keturah ends up enchanting Death with all of these stories and tales of love in order to stall her death, and Death ends up kind of falling for it and being really fascinated by Keturah, so he offers her a bargain where he basically says, if you can find your true love, the kind of love that you are telling me about, then I will grant you your life back. This book was just a magical bundle of goodness. If you really like historical fantasy and you're looking for a book that you can just fly through one crisp autumn morning, then I definitely recommend this book because I think that it deserves more attention. Before I end things for today's video, I actually wanted to show you guys what I'm currently reading, which is HalfBlood by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I finally caved and decided to read another J.L. Armentrout series because I have waited for a very long time, okay? It's been like a year. I waited a year. That is impressive. I think that reading Don't Look Back kind of like got me back on the J.L. Armentrout train, and once I hopped on, I just, you know, I can't really hop off. I think the reason why I've put off reading her books for so long is because I just don't want to have none left. It is loosely based on Greek mythology, and it follows these young people who are either purebloods or half-bloods. If you're a pureblood, then you are the child of gods, and if you're a half-blood, then you are the child of a pureblood and human. And they go to this academy where basically it's all purebloods and half-bloods. If you're a half-blood, you have the option of becoming a trained sentinel where you basically fight off all of the evil creatures and whatnot, or you can become part of the lower class. But the purebloods get everything they want because they're purebloods and blah 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 blah. It follows a girl named Alex who I already really like because, like most of J.L. Armentrout's main characters, she is very funny and sarcastic and witty and goofy. Of course, it has some swoon-worthy male leads because what is a J.L. Armentrout book without swoon-worthy male characters? I mean, really. This book is so good. It is so good. I'm only like 50 pages in and it is so good. So I'm afraid of what this book is going to do to me. I'm not gonna have life for the next week. That's what's gonna happen, and I don't care. So let's face it, J.L. Armentrout books are so much better than reality. And yeah, that is it. So like I said, I will have many more books to show you in November because it's only November 4th and I've already read more books than I read in October. And it's only been 4 days. I've read like a book a day so far. I am on a roll right now. I don't know what's wrong with me, but like all I can do right now is read. I've just been one book after the other. Reading, reading, reading. Anyway, I am going to wrap things up for today, but before I do, please let me know in the comments below how many books did you read in October and which one was your favorite. But I think that will be it for today, so if you guys enjoyed, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I hope that you'll go and have yourselves a fabulous day, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!